Hi, I'm Michael Bartlett, and I've been running for about 5 years now, and I'm training for a goal of a 135 half marathon in Myrtle Beach on October 17th.
Hi, my name is Jack Stevenson. I've been running for on and off about 20 years, but more seriously here in the last 4 to 5 years, and everything he just said, 135 Myrtle Beach in October. Looking forward to it.
Hi there, my name is Joel. I'm running the Georgina Marathon on October 17th with a goal of qualifying for Boston with a time of 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 10 seconds.
Hey everyone, welcome to DevRunner. My name is Paul. I'm a certified running coach, and this is episode 8 of Chasing PRs. This series follows the runners who are on screen with me as they execute training plans I've designed to help them reach their racing goals this coming fall. I'll be sharing running tips and advice to help everyone become a faster, stronger, and healthier runner. So please like this video, comment and subscribe below, and ding that bell so that you get notifications every time I post a new video. You can follow everybody on Strava so that you can give them all the encouragement that they're going to need to get through this training cycle. And before we get into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to the amazing Tony James, who is a fellow coach and YouTuber, who's going to talk a little bit before we get into it about the benefits of speed training for long distance runners. So Tony, without any further ado, please take it away.
Hi Paul, thanks for having me. You were asking me the question earlier about why is speed work good for a runner? Well, as you know, we generally do most of our training in continuous running. You know, when we're out doing the long runs or we're doing those 5K, 10Ks or half marathon or whatever distance you're running, that's continuous running where we go out and we just run. And that really does help build our aerobic system, which is fantastic. But we have to look at the other energy systems and also look at our muscles and how we develop them and maybe use different strategies to try and improve our running. Now, one of those ways is to do non-continuous running, or as most people call it, speed work. Now what that entails is actually doing short burst running, you know, maybe up to 400 meters or even lower than that, or maybe up to 1 kilometer, and doing it at a faster speed. And that really does help, because not only are we building the aerobic system, we're also building the other two energy systems we have within the body, the lactic system and the lactate system. Now, as you know, when we start running, we're using oxygen to change the glycogen to energy within our muscles. But when you start running, you're not using the oxygen the same because you're not out of breath, heart's not pumping. So what happens is the body uses stored energy within the muscles, and that's called the lactic energy system. That's already stored there. So when we run fast for a short burst, we're actually using that energy system and we're training that system up. And then we can use that later on in a race. If you want to pass people, you can use that sudden burst of energy that's built up. Or when you're going for that glorious sprint finish at the end of your marathon, you're using the lactate system, the energy that's stored in there, to give you that burst over that 8 to 10 seconds or so. That's just one of the benefits of speed work. Another one is recruiting the muscle fibers to get the muscles to work more efficiently. Now, the human body is the laziest thing going. So when we start running and when we're pushing hard, the brain says, how many fibers within that muscle do I need to light up to work? And it will always choose the least amount to do the job. And then as they tire and fatigue, it will light up some more fibers. They'll tire and fatigue and they'll light up more. So we just have this continuous fatigue happening. But doing the speed work, we're actually training the brain to go, hold on a minute, let's light it all up. We need to light up the slow twitch fibers. We need to light up the super fast twitch fibers within the muscle. So we're getting more fibers, which means we've got more energy available and we don't fatigue as quickly. So that's one of the benefits of speed work, lighting up more fibers when we actually need that burst of energy. So you can see it's totally fascinating. It's not just running quicker, which inevitably you do when you're doing the speed work, but it's those little changes within the body that help us become more effective. Now, the one benefit you can see, because what I've just mentioned is all within the body and you don't see it, but what you can see physically is when you're running faster, you can improve your form. You can stand tall, you've got those high hips, your shoulders and your hips are in line. You also using your arms to drive fast, and your foot will be naturally landing with just ahead of the center of mass. So your form's getting better, which means your running becomes more efficient. So you're using less energy to run faster. Again, which is a fantastic benefit of doing that speed work. Should we do all our running at speed? No, not at all. We should just do a proportion of it. 1, maybe 2 sessions a week if you're really going for it. But you should be throwing at least 1 session in there. But before I finish, the one thing I must tell you about the speed work is recovery. Because the whole process is we overload the muscles by doing the fast work, and then we need to give it time for the muscles to recover and to adapt to that overloading they've just had. So when you are doing speed work, you really need to pay attention to how much recovery you are doing between those intervals. Well, the interval itself is actually the recovery part, but what I'm saying is you need to look at how long that recovery is between those fast run sections. So that's just a tip to look at in the future. Hope you find that of interest, Paul. Thank you very much indeed for having me on the channel. Hope to see you again soon. But until we meet next time, let's get running.
All right, Tony, as I thought, that was some amazing advice, and I thank you very much for jumping in. Now, guys, without any further ado, I want to talk to Jack about the past week's training, especially your 2 speed days and your long run.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Well, starting out last week in terms of speed days, Tuesday was a little bit of a doozy. I had to deal with my 4-year-old son came down with an ear infection, so we were up to the wee hours of the morning on Tuesday. So a little bit of a shift plan in the training schedule, unbeknownst to me. Started on Wednesday, so I ended up incorporating the strides on Wednesday, and then the surges then on Thursday, and Paul gave me a little naughty on that Thursday after. He said, well, that's don't worry about missing the day or whatnot, but just to kind of recap those 2, they went fine. I mean, it was a cap of 6 miles. And quite honestly, I was like, the text Paul back. I was like, the strides the surges felt really good. That's
awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah, they did. I thought the not so much just the actual half-mile strides themselves on that Thursday, but the distance between there, I didn't feel the tiredness. Like I didn't feel like I needed to drop all the way back down to 8-minute mile pace, in between time. I could, obviously wasn't as fast as the surges, but I didn't have to drop all the way back. So I felt very very, very good, very positive with the timing on that.
I mean,
overall felt very, very, very good with speed. I feel we're moving along at a very good progression with that. Moving on to Saturday, and I know Michael will chime in when he talks, but we ran a 13-mile progression run here in Lake Wylie. That all kinds of terrain on the road, but lots of neighborhoods, main highway, parks, all through that. And it was a very interesting run. It wasn't a bad run. Still don't feel like it's my very best, particularly once I get hit around the 10-mile or so mark. That's where in my world now things start to get that challenging moment where we were sitting back very comfortably, and Michael will probably attest, the first 6, 7, 8 miles very comfortable, felt great, even with the humidity that we had out there. But then, we're probably hanging back about about a 8:20, 8:15 pace for those first. We were steadily progressing up to that point. But really where I felt the challenge was, okay, so now you go from like an 8:15 now where I was going, let's go hit that half marathon pace. We're trying to get up there to 7:15, and first couple of miles of that last 4 felt good. We're hitting that pace. It was nice, but then like the last 2, as we were talking a little bit offline before, that physically, endurance wise, I felt fine. I didn't feel like I was out of breath or out of just pure exhaustion. It was just the leg muscles were okay. It was like, okay, you're well over, sir, where you normally are. So I felt the lock, particularly within the quads and the hip flexors. And it was like, okay, so the more I kept trying to move, it was like brain was like go, body was like, so so that was a bit of a challenge. Got through the run. It was a 13 miler that day. It wasn't the worst run I've ever done by far, but it was still where a little bit of like, okay, so in terms of progression, frustration sets in. Okay, so now after running all that, how do you really start hitting that consistently, the 7:10s, the 7:15s, without missing that beat. But overall, it was still a very good week. And I can already tell, because we're already here on Tuesday as we're recording this, and, we'll talk about this week next week. But today, I had a really good speed day. I can feel the strength coming in, which is a good sign. So not to downplay at all that long run on Saturday. I think it was very, very well worth it, but definitely challenging, and but also appreciative as well.
Well, Jack, you leave me with like, I've got a head full of commentary that I want to give back to you, not just for you, but for the benefit of everybody who is a new distance runner themselves. There's a lot to learn from what you just talked about this week. Number one is I'm highly impressed with the fact that you were able to do 2 speed day workouts back to back like that. Amazing that you even hit your goals on the second one. The only thing, hats off to you. And I think that speaks to the fact that you are at heart a mid-distance speed guy. That's your comfort zone. That's where you are coming from. The only negative thing I can say about that, and it's not really negative, it's just kind of like a keep this in mind type of thing, is wonderful that you were able to do it. But I think those 2 back-to-back speed days being hard workouts probably set you up for the latter parts of that long run to be as difficult as they were for you. The other thing that was working against you in that long run, not hitting the 4 miles, all 4 miles at half marathon pace at the end of that 13-mile run, is just the fact that you are, in fact, a new distance runner. So you're touching these kind of mileage levels for the first time. I don't expect you to nail it with perfection. This, when you come back, next week for you guys is a down week. But when you guys come back and you start revisiting these higher mileage long runs, you will find them getting easier. After 2 or 3 weeks, it always takes that long for any person's body to adapt to a change. You do a hard workout, you're not going to see the benefits of that hard workout for 2, 3, possibly 4 weeks down the road, which is why everybody tapers. You do a hard workout, you give yourself a couple of weeks to kind of absorb that hard work, and then you go out and you race and you kill it because you get the full benefits of everything you did 2 weeks ago and further back. So with that, Jack, I'm glad to hear that you're not being discouraged by the fact that you didn't nail that down with perfection. The fact is, you went 13 miles and you went fast at the end. You know what I mean? I don't care that it doesn't bother me in the slightest that you didn't run them at 7:15s. You know what I mean? Or even heat adjusted 7:15 pace. You did really, really well. I hope you're proud of your performance, especially with the fact that you came off 2 days of rest before back-to-back speed days. Dude, take this week that we're actually in right now, your down mileage week. Take those easy days real easy. But of course, don't shy away from speed on the speed days. I know you're good at that, so I don't worry about that with you. And you will see when you go into your 11-mile aerobic run this coming Sunday or Saturday, you'll do really well. And don't try to make up for the speed that you missed last week. Yeah. Because then you're just kind of, you know what I mean? The fatigue, you're just kind of carrying it over. You just
it was stressful, because I said all day Tuesday, it's like, oh man, you know, how do I get this in, you know? And so like, so it worked out on Saturday to get strides in, but I probably should have, you know, either flip-flopped them or whatever. But it was weird because like Thursday, I was like, oh man, but those surges felt so good, you know? And then, you know, to your point, Saturday, it just really,
You paid,
you know, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the biggest advice, and I don't follow it all the time myself. So, you know, I don't blame you guys. You know, I say one thing and do another with my own training too. So, you know, it's hard sometimes, but if a day doesn't go the way you want it to, and you have to back off that day, like on a speed day, you just don't hit those marks, don't go and try to make up for it. Let the day go. There's another chance next week at the same workout. So, you know, just let it go, because you are building strength. It doesn't, you know, I've said enough. Michael, let's move on to you. I know you had a big week, and I really want to hear about your long run, especially because, man, what a performance.
Thanks, Paul. I'll start off with saying Jack and I had 35 miles on the calendar for last week, and that just happens to be like the most distance I've ever ran within a week. So I peaked at 35 in my last training cycle, and here I am hitting 35 again already in this cycle. We had 2 speed days. Tuesday was the half-mile surges, and then Thursday was the just some strides. So Tuesday, I actually did get outside. I did those at the park. It's a 1K loop that's flat. I really like it out there, so I run and around. But you know, really consistent. I was happy with my paces on those surges. I was right at 7:05, 7:03, 7:02, 7:03.
Really impressive.
Consistent. Yeah, I was consistent. It felt good. Afterwards, I did feel, you know, some fatigue in my legs because we're starting to add that speed, and you know, obviously the mileage is going up throughout the week. But you know, overall, it was a good week. Or a good workout. The Thursday, I did end up doing the strides on the treadmill, which they were fine. You know, ramped up to about 9.5 miles an hour, and you know, did those strides, and they felt really good. I feel like, you know, they're improving my form.
Good.
And then going into the long run on Saturday, I really tried to be more conscious of my hydration. You know, I Saturday or Friday, I try to drink a lot more water than I normally would, just to have that stored up. And Jack can let you know, because I had to stop and hit the bathroom a couple times. But yeah, so definitely hydrated really well. I wore my vest. I had Gatorade in the vest, and then I actually ditched a water bottle with a caffeine mix for those last 4 miles that were on the track. I just wanted to, you know, definitely give myself all the tools that I possibly needed to get it. I had a couple of gels. So I was definitely sugared up, but, you know, I feel like I got to those, I was running, slow 9-minute pace for the first 5 miles. Then I started rolling down towards half marathon pace. By the time we got to the park, I was, pretty consistent there around 7:30, 7:20 for those last 4 miles. And it was very hard, don't get me wrong, but I was able to speed up there at the end.
Yeah, and I was amazed by it when I saw it on Strava, and I encourage everybody who's watching this, as audience members, go check out Michael's Strava page if you want to see pretty much a picture perfect progression run with, you know, finishing off at marathon pace. There it is for you. You know, great job. And to reiterate what you just said, Michael, to have that kind of performance capping off a week that represents your highest mileage week thus far, you know, that ties your highest mileage ever. Yeah, I mean, rock on, dude. That's some impressive stuff. One thing I want to recommend to everybody before we jump over to Joel to talk about his marathon training is, you know, offline, I really want to talk to you guys about making sure you have the hardware and the fuel that you need going into your aerobic 11 milers, or for Joel, your 21 miler, to make sure that you just practice using all of those tools, whether it be caffeine or electrolyte drinks or sugar, whatever the case may be, or starch drinks, because I want you guys to work out a little bit more this week on your long runs, what works for you and what definitely doesn't, because next time you guys hit, you know, in a week and a half, when you guys are up against a 14 miler with what, 5 miles at half marathon pace, I don't want you guys second guessing which fuels work for you and what don't. I want it to be a little bit old hat, because we're getting now to the stages where every single one of your long runs, and this applies to you, Joel, as well, where every long run has to start becoming a dry practice run for the race, because it's not that far over the horizon. So we need to really consciously start dialing in everything you're going to wear, everything you're going to take into your body as fuel, so that when race day comes, you're not worried about that crap. You're just worried about waiting for that gun to go off, you know, and you've got no more distractions. With that said, guys, I just did get the 10-minute warning from Zoom, so I'm going to shut my mouth and I'm going to bounce it over to Joel to talk about his past week in marathon training.
Right. So it was an interesting week, to say the least. So Tuesday morning, I woke up and I felt off. I had inflammation, soreness. And Paul, we've talked about this previously, where it's kind of hard to walk down the stairs in the morning.
Yeah.
And I think you've experienced that, or do regularly.
Oh, yeah. A couple of days a week at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So I haven't had that at all for this training cycle, because I've been very careful with preparing and staying hydrated and all of that. So I've been really happy about that, being very comfortable, when usually I'm very, very sore in the morning. So, but anyway, Tuesday morning I wake up, I'm back to oh my God, like just a lot of pain. My ankles won't bend. I'm sort of going down the stairs backwards, and I got to go to the track. So this is Tuesday. I run to the track, and it's a big track workout. So it was meant to be, I believe it was meant to be a 400, 2 800s, 2 1600s, 2 800s, and another 400. So I did the 400. Everything was fine. Started the 800. I'm on lap 1, and my left hamstring just completely seizes up, cramps right up, to the point where, like, I didn't even know what happened. It was very, very acute. So I had to stop running. I couldn't run. And I just tried to stretch it out and walk around. I did another lap, and I realized this is not going to loosen up. So I basically ran home, and throughout the course of the day, and we talked that day, everything started cramping up. My feet were cramped, like just my whole body was cramping up, and it was definitely an electrolyte issue.
Yeah, which is great news, because, you know, that's easily solved as opposed to a real like hamstring injury or something like that.
Yeah. So Wednesday I did the 10 miler, and it was pretty good, but, you know, I was pretty sore, but I was able to maintain kind of the pace that I wanted to. It was very close to what I've been doing. Easy run on Thursday. I got in a bit of trouble for this because mentally I was like really unsure of what was happening. There was still some soreness, and So I went out and pushed really hard. I just wanted to test everything.
Yep.
And it was fine. But
Which is great news in a way, but at the same
yeah,
time.
you were like, what are you doing? That makes no sense. So Friday I had a 13K aerobic with strides. And again, it was a pretty good run, but I did notice the strides were not, I wasn't hitting the peak speed that I hit the week before.
Which is all right.
Yeah. Saturday I did a short run, and then Sunday. So Sunday was like a perfect storm. Actually, let's go back to Friday for a second. So I believe it was Friday that I heard, or that news was released, that the US border restrictions were not going to be lifted. They were going to be extended to September 21st, which is after the Erie Marathon. And I'd looked at other ways of getting to like the Erie Marathon in Pennsylvania, and there was really no good way to do it other than just drive there. Driving there is the most simple way.
Yeah.
I was looking at flights, and there's like two stops. It's going to take 12 hours, like all this kind of stuff just makes no sense.
Wow.
Train, there was no real option. There was an opportunity to fly across on a helicopter. That option
Makes for a good
exists.
story.
Yeah, that
Yes.
option exists, right? But again, it's very complicated. I had to get to Niagara Falls, get on the helicopter, land in Buffalo.
Nobody wants all this when you're trying to concentrate on a race, right?
I don't want any of it, and it's just too much. Like I know that then if I commit to these things as well, I've had a lot of sort of disappointments over the last, as we all have, right? Over the last, year and a half, 2 years.
Exactly.
So I'm like, okay, this is not gonna work for me. So mentally that changed. It was like a switch flipped, and mentally suddenly I'm just not thinking the same way anymore. So by the time I got to my Sunday run, my whole mental game was gone.
You lost the focus because the race wasn't there anymore.
Completely lost my focus. So I didn't pick the course properly. I wasn't, even during the run, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not even focusing on hydrating or fueling properly. It just wasn't my day. It was also, unfortunately, from a heat and humidity perspective, was like absolutely insane.
Yeah.
A lot of people on the run, they completed the run, but I actually ran with my running group for part of it. And just looking at Strava, I just saw people had set out with certain goals for the Sunday and bailed on them. So unfortunately, my run, again, I was running along pretty quickly on the first half. But when it was gut check time,
yep,
I didn't have it at all. I did not have.
Which, I mean, you got to forgive yourself. I mean, in that kind of weather, nobody's going to do it. That's just when you got to learn to,
Yeah.
cut
it. And it was the weather. There's no doubt. But if I knew the race was still in the books, I feel like I would have figured it out, or at least I would have done more than what I ended up doing.
Yeah, but I mean, the good news is, and Joel, I do not mean to rush you at all, but I'm scared we're about to get cut off here any second. The good news is you saved the strength for another day, because now that you have 3 to 4 weeks more of training time to get ready for the Georgina Marathon in Ontario, we have more time to play with to get you a more proper arc to your training cycle. So don't feel bad, because this coming Sunday you get another try at a 21 miler with what is it? Something really painful, like 10 miles at marathon pace.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. The sound of your voice when you said that.
Yeah, I'm. Thanks for the break, buddy.
You get a break the day after the race.
Yeah, I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm going to pick the right course. not going to have any distractions. We'll get it done properly this time. So
Awesome.
looking forward to making that right.
Cool, man. All right. So yeah, I mean, the big picture to keep in mind, guys, is that, we are all hopefully on the verge of starting to see some cooler temperatures introduce themselves in the early mornings. And even I will be getting outside on my training runs. So with that said, guys, hopefully I can finish this sentence before this thing gives up, but get healthy, stay strong, and keep pushing. Peace out. We'll catch you next week, folks, for more from these amazing runners. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.